Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Point of Disorder. And I hope all of you out there are staying safe from the wildfire smoke and the poop lettuce and all the other stuff that's going on in the world. I am your host, Norris Howard, joined by our intrepid crew to my left, Jeremy from Head Office. What's up?
I'm back. I'm trying to survive these plagues that are besieging our state, also desperately trying to survive the much more dangerous threat, which is the Senate primary.
Yeah, it's been rough.
The worst threat to my life, the Senate primary.
It's been real rough covering this thing because it has gotten crazy. And also, as usual, we have Julie. Hello, Julie.
I'm back. Very excited to be here and chat about, all the fun things. I'm sure we've had a great week.
Yeah, listen, it kind of feels like we're about 1/3 of the way through the book of Exodus right now.
Yep. Biblical plagues.
Yeah, at this point, like I'm just waiting on the locusts and all that. But anyway,
Blood in the river.
The frogs, the boils.
the boils, all that. It's on the way. But we do start today focusing on Michigan and focusing on this incredible Senate race that we got going on, particularly the Democratic primary. I know we've talked about it a lot, but this thing has reached critical mass and has gone everywhere across the country. People are eyes on Michigan right now, but we're going to look at it from a specific lens because the big story isn't necessarily what each candidate is saying, but more so how each candidate is spending their money. And we're going to start talking about AIPAC and other super PACs that have been funding Haley Stevens to the tune of $50 million for a primary, y'all.
Man, every election that AIPAC is spending all this money, and it's not just AIPAC, there's other super PACs playing as well. They're always just breaking records, and it is so nauseating. Like millions and millions of dollars just to boost one person. Insane.
And I think that the lens that I look at it through, we do media, obviously. We do a lot of media, a lot of social media. We go to a lot of events. We cover Republican events. We cover Democratic events. It doesn't matter. We cover them both. And I think the interesting part about this particular race is that the Stevens campaign is quite literally being run on the TV.
Yeah.
It is YouTube ads, it's TV ads. There are very, very few opportunities that we've received anyway in terms of events or actual out there canvassing or rallies or anything like that. So it's been quite hard to cover, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's been a lot of
podcast.
We tried to get her on the podcast. Yeah,
So did we. She didn't answer us.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of pop-up events from the Stevens campaign where she'll just appear somewhere and then talk to voters, which again that's part of the game, that's part of the process. But there's been less opportunities for some of those like formal sit downs or event sit downs or press scrums where you could kind of get into her face and ask her the questions and ask about what is your vision for Michigan or the future. And this has just been our reality. It's been the reality of a lot of other press people. We were able to go to the Abdul event with Bernie Sanders at AOC last week, where I think a lot of this kind of began to explode nationwide because that was really one of the first times where you saw these big national names stand on the same stage with Abdul. And I think the visual of that really sent things into overdrive because now you're starting to really see kind of the commercial spending for the Stevens campaign kind of go out of control. They're renting airplanes.
Oh my God, dude.
They're sending out mailers. I actually was at a restaurant and I did this. This is my unscientific study, but I was at a restaurant the other day with some other colleagues, and the TVs were on, and I counted how many Stevens or Stevens positive commercials came on. So in that hour, there were 13 positive commercials for either Haley Stevens or negative for Abdul, basically paid for by Stevens or PACs adjacent to her. I saw 2 ads from Abdul El Sayed, just to show you how lopsided the spend is from these 2 campaigns.
So can we talk for a minute about what impact this has? Because I think it is quite interesting in terms of a campaign strategy, because campaign strategies have traditionally been ground game, door knocking, phone banking.
That's why Mom Donnie won. Yeah,
correct. All that kind of
person to person.
That's right, person to person stuff. And then right towards the very end, they will then start their TV ad buys. So it's like I've been out there on the ground talking to people, knocking doors, doing flyers, all that kind of stuff. And then at the very last, because TV advertising is really fucking expensive.
Yes.
And so most campaigns, don't have enough money to be running, a month-on-month fucking campaign on television. So it's kind of it's an interesting look at how the different. I think this is a test. This primary is a test as to the future of campaigning.
Yeah. And I want to bring up a couple of concerns that have sort of been adjacently talked about on this show and elsewhere. But like the first one is Haley Stevens right now has like $50 million behind her, maybe more in counting. What happens to all that money when the general election comes around? Because like right now she's got tons and tons of AIPAC support in the form of like super PAC ad spending and stuff. But if she ends up winning this primary and it's her versus Mike Rogers, two people that are mostly in agreement when it comes to the policies that AIPAC wants to promote, I don't know if that money is there for her anymore. And once that money does dry up, and especially considering she won't have like the volunteer army that Abdul had behind him because they just won't be as motivated to support her, what happens to her campaign at that point, given that it's mostly just a TV commercial campaign? That to me is an electability worry.
So it is, but what I would say to you, there's a couple of things. So first of all, the Democratic Party is a machine here in Michigan.
For sure.
So there is like they will have a ground game. They will have the different, there are Democratic clubs all around the state, and they will be, trying
They'll consolidate.
And the coalition is strong. The Democratic coalition in particularly in Southeast Michigan, where most people live in the state, is super strong. So I personally think whoever the nominee is, whether it be Stevens or Abdul, will have a significant coalition behind them going into a general.
So I hear you and I agree, but I think that your point is real in terms of the energy that Abdul's team has on the ground. The ground game is certainly higher. But I think the other thing that will also happen, and this happens every time as well, like clockwork, there is an apparatus obviously in DC. They're the Senate, Democratic Senate PAC. They will then pour money into, because this is such an important race for them. If Mike Rogers wins, whoever, that will a huge dent in the Democratic Party and their plans. So I think that there is that apparatus. But you're right. It is concerning in terms of the ground game energy, and that's always been something that most can't. Like Gretchen had it when she ran for governor twice. She's always had a very big ground game.
She was a much easier candidate to consolidate behind.
Correct. So
and that's like, yes, the Democratic Party will consolidate behind her. Yes, she'll obviously get the establishment support. I mean, she's getting the establishment support right now. That's not going to disappear. And a lot of Democrats will, even if they don't like her, plug their nose, volunteer for her, canvas and whatnot. But my worry is that Abdul is clearly better when it comes to fundraising, right? Like those small dollar donors. He's got this army of volunteers. He isn't depending on millions and millions in super PAC money to prop up his campaign. Haley Stevens doesn't have any of that. And I'm hearing more and more that she's got basically no presence up north, that she hasn't done any of the ground game there.
No, he's outperformed her outstate.
And so I worry that, like, sure, maybe this could get her through the finish line in a primary, but given that the support is so, I guess, artificial in a way, I wonder what that does to her campaign, even in this like D+6 environment, because of how unpopular Trump is. I don't know. It's a concern.
I think it is. I don't want to say it's an invalid concern. I think it's a valid concern. I just think the coalition is strong enough to get her over the line. I do think that it makes that race significantly closer than probably it would be even with Abdul's, considering that in the areas that he would underperform in a general, he seems to have focused on in a primary. So I think looking at it from that perspective, and on top of that, there will be elements from the machine and the apparatus that then will combine with that ground game if he were to become the nominee to push him over the line. Because obviously I don't think he would get, obviously the AIPAC money and stuff like that. But the party apparatus, I think, would consolidate behind him because he would be the nominee.
But I think a lot of that super PAC money that you're talking about here is also going to Rogers.
Right. Well, AIPAC is just like funded by Republicans.
So I think it does change the game. I think the other thing that we sort of underestimate is the power of the anti-Trump portion of this.
And that's why I tried to preface it with like it's a D+6 environment.
Yeah.
Like I think any Democrat could win statewide in Michigan this year, but I do worry about like the like tangibles of her campaign not really being there.
It puts the down ballot initiatives at risk, I think, right? Because as we're talking about things like MMOP and getting big dark money out of politics, which according to our own internal distilled social poll was the number one thing on people's minds.
Yeah.
I think it does put that at risk if you have somebody like Stevens on the ballot, simply because the youth coalition for Abdul is so strong and so powerful, and that's so lopsided right now that to lose that cohort is it could be devastating for a lot of the ballot initiatives. We got a mass transit initiative that could be going onto the ballot. There's Michigan money out of politics. So there's a lot of other stuff down ballot that we're going to have to vote for. You need turnout for. Yeah.
Sometimes it's really, I think a big part of what we need to do is help educate people to understand that this money and politics portion of the program is one of the issues that we have, and it's one of the reasons we've ended up in this situation. In this situation. So I think, it behooves all of us as Distill Social, as the work that we do.
As just normal people.
Yeah, is just, to talk to people about this. We have, unfortunately, the ground on which we grow our politics is basically been sown before with so much shit. Including money in politics. It's a reason why sometimes we get substandard outcomes.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah, 1,000%. And, I do want to bring this up because I want to ask y'all on the outside looking in. Because for me, one thing I hear about, and this is the last thing I want to talk about the Senate race, is that at that event, overwhelmingly white. At Abdul's event.
This is the Abdul event, yeah.
This is at Abdul's event. Overwhelmingly white. Now, obviously, there were some Arab folks, there were some black folks, but still overwhelmingly white.
And just be really clear here, this was in Detroit.
This was in Detroit.
Yeah.
Downtown Detroit, which again, people are going to feel some kind of way about.
Yeah.
But that's where all the venues are, so I can't necessarily be that upset. But do you all worry, because I slightly worry, that could be a thing that causes some of the electorate to not go for Abdul and then lean more for Haley, and then how does that harm it? Does that harm him in a general, do you think?
Yeah, there's been a lot of discourse about how white Abdul's crowds tend to be, and I do think it's like a genuine concern, right? Progressives need to make more inroads when it comes to
this is an issue with progressives nationwide.
It does need to be addressed, but I do want to say there's no real point of comparison because Haley Stevens doesn't do events like this. Yeah. So it's like, even if it's true that Abdul's crowds are overwhelmingly white and that's a point of concern that he needs to focus on, it's not like we can compare it to Haley Stevens' crowds because she doesn't have any crowds.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I know that's a bit more of like a joking answer. No, yeah, progressives do need to be able to lock in and appeal to a wider swath of people. And because historically, the progressive base has been highly educated people and wealthier white folks.
Yes.
Not like wealthy white folks, but people that are doing better
upper
for
middle
themselves.
class.
Upper middle class white folks, yeah. And the thing that Zoran was able to do was dramatically expand that coalition by going everywhere, talking to everybody, and expanding the issue set that they talked about, not being overly academic and just talking about simple things like rent freeze, fast and free buses, stuff
free
like that.
Childcare.
I think that's what Abdul is trying to do, but it is still an uphill battle, and I do think that the campaign needs to do even more, as much as they can in these last few weeks, to pull it out.
So I want to pull back to something that we spoke about in a previous podcast, and that was, I mentioned the fact that Haley has really focused on Detroit for many years, and the black vote has always, I will say to you, she invested in this in the same way that Abdul invested in going up north and traveling all over the state. She really has invested time and money and effort into that particular population. And it's paying dividends for her, quite honestly. Yeah. So, I mean, it just goes to show you that, the ground game is important. That was her ground game.
And that was her ground game. That was her ground game. And we do have to admit that when it comes to a lot of those relationships, those are years-long relationships that she's fomented over the course of her tenure in the House. And I just think looking at both of these candidates, they have their strengths. They have the people that they have clearly focused on. But when we pull out and look at the 30,000-foot view, it is impossible to compare them in terms of the money. It is such an uphill battle for Abdul right now that I am not sure that is a mountain that an average candidate could climb.
Yeah.
We will see if he's able to defeat that obstacle, because I've seen Bernie Sanders do it.
Yeah.
In 2016, where he was battling, obviously not to the same amount, but he was battling a money disadvantage, an ad disadvantage, a voter recognition disadvantage when he was running against Hillary Clinton in 2016, and he still won Michigan.
I was going to say, we have to remind everybody that Bernie actually won Michigan against Hillary in the primary in 2016. So for anyone kind of like, throwing their hands up in the air and saying, Michigan's not that progressive, the reality is that I think we need to separate progressive. We use that term progressive, but at the end of the day, it's just populist. They're actual issues that appeal to your average person who is just trying to make ends meet, put a roof over their head, and educate their kids.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a long history of like left populism and even like socialist organizing, especially in the city of Detroit and in surrounding communities, especially with like auto manufacturing and stuff like that. One thing that I've been sort of thinking about, especially related to this divide we see in the way that people talk about like the black vote, for example, I wonder if it's going to be more generational than anything else.
It is,
because that's what we saw with Zoran.
Yeah, anecdotally for me, that's what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. Not just talking to my family, but just out here in the streets talking to, Detroiters, is that anybody under 50 is like, yo, Abdul's that guy. He's super awesome. I support his policies. Medicare for all being at the top of the list, because again, a lot of the folks who are 50 and older are people who have had jobs that have given them health care, that they're on Medicaid, so on and so forth. So they're not worried about that. If you're of a certain age, you'd be like, no, I've had an extended period of my life not having health insurance, and that fucking sucks.
And it's also a generation of people that have seen the Democratic Party not totally suck shit.
Yeah.
Whereas anybody under like 35 looks at the Democrats and thinks like these people are corrupt or they can't get fucking anything done. So I'm not voting for another person that the establishment has told me to.
And there are also young people. We spoke about this last week, the generational divide, right? But they're also a group of people that have suffered through a fucking pandemic.
A recession.
A recession.
2008.
Like, you've got to, you cannot ignore. None of this is in is in a silo. Hey guys, can we talk about the money in politics portion?
Let's expand there.
Because I really think, I just think the Senate race is there is a direct correlation and conversation around the Senate race.
It can't get much more direct than what's happening right now.
Right.
So, Money in Politics campaign, MMOP, which is a ballot petition we're hoping to get on the ballot this year. Once again, reminder, this Friday, which when this podcast comes out, it'll be tomorrow, that we'll be going to the Board of Canvassers in Lansing to actually make sure that it gets on the ballot. Nice. But I think we have to, just recently, it's come out that Jim Runstead, you may or may not have heard of Jim Rumstead, but he is he's the chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. And he has come out quite forcefully,
firmly,
supporting this ballot petition, Money Out of Politics.
Yes.
Now I'm seeing your head spin around there, Jeremy. What do we think of this? It's been reported. The Detroit News has reported on it. So it looks like we're moving down that path of Republicans actually potentially endorsing it.
So I look at this two ways. Mm-hmm. My academic, journalist way is looking at it as to say this is a bipartisan issue that people on both sides of the aisle, in terms of the electorate, the voters, have said, we want this right now. Not now, but right now. People are sick of the gross amounts of spending. They're sick of particularly DTE and consumers' influence on Michigan politics in particular, because everybody hates DTE. That is a non-political issue. And they want to see change, regardless of where they live or where they fall on the aisle. Now, me as a voter, my take on this is, oh my God, the Democrats are going to let the Republicans take the narrative on Michigan money out of politics. That is what and it just makes me go, how can the Democrats let themselves be outmaneuvered on the easiest layup? Like, this is not just a layup. This is I am standing underneath the hoop and I am Wemby.
It's
and
a free point. It's a free point.
All I have to do is reach my arm up and drop the ball into the net. And somehow they are letting the Michigan Republican Party take the ball from them.
Yeah, no, it's such a free point for Democrats. That was my main takeaway too, is like Democrats are going to allow themselves to be outflanked on this issue and once again be portrayed as the party that's on the side of the donor class, the rich, the wealthy that like to interfere with politics. And Republicans are going to get the dub and seem like the ones that are truly connected to the people. As a purely political matter, I want anybody and everybody to support this ballot petition because I want it to pass.
Facts.
So we take these dubs.
We take those.
We take these dubs. The more people of different political backgrounds, different partisan backgrounds that openly come out and support this, I think that is a dub for the people of Michigan. But just like Norris said, I cannot believe how fucking terrible Democrats have handled this issue.
So it's so interesting. I've been involved in this from the beginning. And so the money out of politics, I sat next to Jim DeSantis. We've spoken about this on the podcast where I sat next to a Republican representative, Jim DeSantis, who is so MAGA, it's ridiculous. And at the Board of Canvassers, when we got money out of politics, the actual wording actually approved. And so it's been a concern with me for a while, particularly since Democrats the Michigan Democratic Party hadn't come out and endorsed it. It's been a real concern for me, but it looks like it's happening right now. I think what we have to remind everybody of is that there are far more Republicans that are gaming the system and taking a shit ton of money from politics, and the corruption is much, much worse on the Republican side, the GOP side, than it is the Democrat side, and I think that's all we can do, because I agree, like it will break my heart if the Michigan GOP comes out and endorses this before the Democrats.
Seems like that's what's about to happen.
It seems like that's what's happening when you got the head of the party saying it. You know, but I'm also with Jeremy on this to say, you know, this is an issue that affects all of us, all of our politics, regardless of where you live, and to see both essentially the opposite party or the party that would normally oppose a thing or this kind of thing to come out and support it, I think is a big deal. I think it's a huge deal, and I think when we're looking at who is affected by big money in politics, it isn't just Democrats.
No.
It is also your populist, you know, salt of the earth Republican candidates who are also affected by big money spending, and they're not allowed to run on the issues that are important to them. Because they have
primaries as well. Like they have primaries as well. They have you know the Michigan GOP definitely has their insider kind of, you know, base.
And DTE tries to determine outcomes for them too.
Yeah. They do. So we are not alone in that. So I think it's a really important.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like DTE and consumers, like their stranglehold on the state has just gotten so severe that even some Republicans now are like, oh my God, this has to stop.
It was those storms earlier this month. I think those storms earlier this month, because we're in the middle of a primary.
Storms hit everybody no matter what.
Yeah, because infrastructure, dude. Like infrastructure impacts everybody. And I hate the fact that it seems like only Democrats really talk about infrastructure in a meaningful way. But when those storms hit and you had so many people without power for so long, over a holiday weekend, by the way, in the heat, a lot of people lost hundreds of dollars worth of food because they had these barbecues and so on and so forth. And then to get the responses that they were getting from DTE and from consumers,
here's
these
$40
people,
bucks.
Here's $40. People were just like, dude, man, fuck DTE, and let's make sure they can't do any of this ever again, and they need to be regulated, and they need to improve our power grid. And I think that just it was it was an auspicious storm is what it was.
Yeah, the one other thing I'll say, which is something we were sort of talking about before the recording, is that I think Republicans in the state recognize where a lot of energy is when it comes to money in politics, and they can also see that Democrats, the party in the state, haven't taken an affirmative or solidified stance yet. And so they're trying to undercut that energy and take it for themselves. It's a savvy political move, and I can't blame them for it.
And that's a big thing.
And it wouldn't be possible if Democrats had just embraced this to begin with.
That's a strong point. And I think also when they see the energy of the youth movement and the energy, particularly of a lot of young white men who voted for Trump in the last presidential election, now sliding towards the sort of democratic socialism, Bernie Sanders, Abdul Al-Sayed kind of thing. I think they're starting to see, okay, that is a cohort we absolutely cannot lose.
Yeah.
Because if the young white male vote is bifurcated even a little bit for them, there is no path.
Yeah.
So I think they're also looking at it as a political move to say we need to do something to get some of them back.
Yeah, I think they're co-opting it pretty. And if they do come out and endorse it, I think they will co-opt it pretty effectively and say like, hey, well, we're also against money in politics, so you don't got to turn to the DSA or socialists or whatever. You also have a home with us if you want to oppose money in politics.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just getting more depressed by the minute. So I just want to point that
it's
out.
a smart political move.
Exactly.
Like,
it's a savvy move. It's like the Haley Stevens Obama thing. Like it's a savvy move. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
listen.
And on this, you really do got to blame Democrats for not embracing this sooner. Because if they did, then Republicans don't get to undercut them on this issue.
Julie, you're a sports fan. Don't ever tell me you've never seen your rival team do something incredible and you're just like, damn it.
You know what? I see
fantastic.
all of this. I get it. It just fucking depresses me
Sure,
that
yeah.
we've like you said, we had a layup with. It looks like we may be fumbling the ball. But at the same time, the energy behind the Michiganders for Money Out of Politics was driven by those on the left. I just want to remind everybody, I refuse. They will take that out of my cold, dead hands. I will keep pushing it.
It's not us agreeing with them, it's them agreeing with us.
Correct.
Finally.
There you go.
Thank
We
you
were right
so
all
much.
along, and now they're finally joining us on
There
our
you go.
position.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the 13th district, because this is the race that actually has been squashed a little bit because of how big people have been, or how much people have been talking about this Senate race. The 13th district is one of the most important, encompasses the vast majority of the city of Detroit. Right now, currently represented by Shri Thanedar, but he's finding out that there's some stiff competition coming from Donavan McKinney, who is currently in the State House, and a very interesting thing happened over the past week, which is Shri was endorsed by Hakeem Jeffries, who is looking to position himself as the first black speaker of the House should the Democrats take the House over. But he is against the actual black candidate of Donavan McKinney, who is running against Shri Thanedar. And by the way, this is a district that is black voters have a plurality in this district, has not had black representation since 2018, and that's a big deal. So, thoughts?
Money in fucking politics, I swear to God. Shri Thanedar, you've got to remember that in 2018, Shri actually originally ran in the gubernatorial race.
Yes.
He ran in the Democratic primary against Gretchen Whitmer
And Abdul.
And
And
right?
he won the city of Detroit, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
I think he
He
did.
did,
yeah.
which is then he pivoted, obviously.
Which is insane, by the way.
Yeah.
The whole thing is insane. So it's money in politics. So Shri has had, once again, I'm going to channel my friend Sergio, who lives in Detroit, who says to me all the time, the thing about Shri is he fucking turns up.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
This is what I tell you.
He's got his
I
face
say
out
it all the
buildings.
time. Listen, because we know our town and we know the politics of our town. With Detroit, you got to show up. You got to be at the thing. You got to be at the barbecue. You got to be at the community center. You got to be
Show up
doing
to the
this.
block party, man.
Show up to the block party, so on and so forth. Our politics is hands on in Detroit, and if we don't see you, that's a problem.
Yep.
And I don't want to make this, sound like an endorsement, because I think it's important to vote how you want to vote and look at these candidates for what they are. But I just know myself, and I know my city and my town and my district, and having a town that is 78% African American, have no African American representation at the federal level, is an issue.
Yeah.
It's an issue. Like, it is what it is. And obviously the people voted for who they voted for, but it is a thing that people on the ground talk about constantly when we talk about what's happening in Washington politics, and why a lot of the conversations around Detroit have not necessarily seen certain substantive issues. I think that is a thing that affects a lot of people.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'll also throw in there that like Shri Thanedar has faced primary challengers before. I think in 2022, he survived only because it was like 40 people running to try to
it was a
replace him,
crowded
so they
field.
split the vote. 2024, he was bailed out by this big dark money group that had like affiliations with AIPAC and stuff like that. And then this time around, it's the same thing. It's massive amount of like dark money groups coming in and spending. And I've been getting, I'm sure you've been seeing this too, like these giant mailers for Shri Thanedar. And they keep depicting Donavan McKinney. They keep calling him Dirty Money Donavan, which feels sort of racialized to me. And it's like, there's the racialized component, and then there's also like, Shri Thanedar, you are a walking tank of dark money.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, it just goes to show that facts don't matter. We're in...
Messaging matters, and that's it.
That's right. Hey, but Norris, I do want to ask you, because this is, I mean, this has been an issue in Detroit for a very long time, whilst Shri's been representing them. The question is, why do people keep voting for this douche? Like, and he is. Like, I've met him many times. The dude is about as charismatic as, my right toenail, quite honestly. He's not a charismatic man.
It's the hands-on politics. I think a lot of the issues previously when it came to the primaries for that district in particular is the hands-on politics, right? Part of why Rashida Tlaib won the 14th is because Rashida Tlaib is very much so in her district all the time. And she's very much so attached to her district, attached to the people in that district.
She does town halls
constantly, right? She is constantly around and people love her for it. The 14th is hers. For
12th, I think.
Yeah, or excuse me, the 12th. Is hers for time immemorial.
Yeah.
Like
she'll be there till she dies.
She'll be there till she dies, or she doesn't want to be there anymore because people love her, right? I think with Shri Thanedar, it's been a crowded field, and then so it was splitting the vote constantly, and now it's name recognition. He's just there. He's the guy we vote for because he's there,
and he's hard to forget.
Yeah. He is hard to forget,
and
he's hard to forget. So I think there's a lot of that, and I think also sometimes because we kind of live constantly in the political realm, that we have to remove ourselves out of the policy-based politics that I think a lot of us function on, and get back to what normally people vote on is, do I know you?
Yeah.
It's not even do I trust you, because people very rarely trust any politician, but it's do I know you?
I feel like that's left the building. Trust
it's do I know you? And people feel like they know Shri Thanedar, and that's why he keeps winning. But it'll be interesting to see this one, because I think Donavan McKinney has not just been present a lot more than I think a lot of the other candidates, but by aligning himself with Abdul and a lot of the other progressives in Michigan and nationwide, that it potentially could boost him over the edge, particularly with like downriver voters who have begun to lean a little bit more progressive as well.
And Donovan got, on the same day, I think Summer Lee, Congresswoman Summer Lee came out and
Rising Star to Pittsburgh.
Got a whole bunch of endorsements,
All right, but now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about something very quickly, but very frustrating. Sad, frustrating, annoying, stupid, terrible, whatever you want to call it. And a memo went around to the Department of Homeland Security as well as ICE officials to say that the FBI will no longer be investigating, quote unquote, interactions that DHS has during stops. And let's just call this for what it is, y'all. This is the FBI telling DHS, do whatever you want.
Were they investigating anything before?
I was about to say that.
Because they're kind of getting away with everything.
Well, because the thing is that at some point you probably get one or two FBI agents who are like, they're not Cash Patel. They're like the regional guys who are just like, hey, man, listen, somebody got shot in my town. I got to start the investigation. I got to file the paperwork at least. And now they're just saying, don't even do that. Don't even do that.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, that does feel significant, unfortunately.
Don't even do that. Don't even file the paperwork. We're not doing it. It will be internal to DHS and DHS only.
So my concern around this is actually bigger, because I don't think anyone in the FBI is probably, or anything is going to happen in terms of this current FBI agency. We're not going to see, like from Maine last week, the shooting and the murder of that particular
no one's going to get responsible.
Nothing's going to happen from that, right?
He'll get a paid vacation.
Correct, exactly.
If that.
And on top of that, you did hear that the guy, the ex-wife of that guy that actually shot that person, came out and basically said, I thought he was joking that he was joining ICE because he's so fucked up and has so many mental issues. She thought he was having a breakdown when he told her
Exactly the kind of guy to join ICE.
It's like, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
So there is that. But I think what it does, the part that concerns me more than anything else is that eventually when we don't have Kash Patel running the FBI, which hopefully will be in the not too distant future, that there will be paperwork that actually in retrospectively will be able to be investigated and action will be able to be taken. So if the FBI are not going to be doing those investigations,
Good point.
I think too far in the future.
But that's exactly
really
why.
important that at least that man on the ground who is in Maine or wherever he might be that's doing that investigation as part of the FBI, he can file that paperwork and probably cynically go, well, no one's ever going to look at that.
But it's there.
It's there.
They're making it as hard as possible for a future Democratic administration to do anything for accountability.
Exactly, right? So now, let's say, who was the guy, the leprechaun that was running the border patrol?
Greg Bovino?
Greg Bovino. So let's say 5 years down the road, 4 years down the road, if there's a different president, different administration, the FBI reopens the investigations into how Border Patrol and DHS were handling ICE detentions. Now that paperwork just does not exist, where previously you would have been able to go, wow, we got 600 complaints and 18 unopened, 18 unfinished cases against ICE agents and DHS agents. Now they're saying you won't even be able to do that. Burn it. Basically, well, you can't burn it. It never existed.
Yeah, you don't even write it.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge issue. In my mind, it went exactly there as well, Julie, is that this stymies any future investigation or responsibility towards DHS.
And I think we need to use that lens when it comes to all of this stuff, because it's very easy just to go, well, fuck it, what does it matter? Like, it's never going to happen. It's never happened. We do all of this. Government accountability doesn't stop when you leave office.
No.
Right?
Well, it does for a lot of American presidents.
It shouldn't.
Henry Kissinger got to live to 100.
Oh, true.
Nixon never went to jail.
True. But I think for the workers, though, for the lower, like yes, maybe at the top.
No, for the rank and file folks.
The rank and file folks, you have accountability and there will be questions asked. So I think we need to think about that when we watch the dismantling of all of this. We have to understand that it's not just dismantling it for now, it's dismantling it for the future as well.
Yeah,
and that also means that once you do this, do you think the next administration will bring back in the FBI? It's easier for them to say, well,
just leave it
alone, right?
Yeah,
we didn't do this, Trump did it. That's kind of, or Kash Patel did it. So I think we have to constantly think, like with the future in mind, whatever happens now is, sowing the seeds for future generations.
Good point.
Yeah, I agree. I just think if there is a different president who comes in from the other party that, they're going to have to do 2 terms because that first term is just going to be literally rebuilding government. Like, it's insane.
But just, I think this whole issue, when you have a fucking look at how many people are being murdered, innocent people that are being murdered by the government, we have to remind ourselves of that.
By the government.
You don't think the FBI should play a part in fucking investigating that in some way, shape or form? I don't know.
Yeah, totally agree.
There's a future documentary movie,
you already know
it.
You already know it'll be 10 years down the line and we'll have Hugh Jackman playing some old grizzled FBI agent who's trying to fight against the man.
Don't throw Australians into it.
No, just when I think about who could it'll be Mark Ruffalo because he's always in the justice dramatization.
That's it.
Anyway, lastly, I want to talk about this. There's new tariffs on Canada. There's new tariffs on Canada, y'all. So if you was looking to try to get your Canada house and your whiskey and your wine and your Canadian whatever you bought from Canada, Canadian Club, all that stuff is gonna cost 50% more because Trump is upset about the wildfires. because Canada could do anything about that.
Bro, what does a tariff do to fix the wildfires? What are we
Nothing.
doing?
It does nothing.
What does raising prices on me do to stop wildfires that impacted me? Like,
it does nothing, okay, effectively. So once again, we are back in the same boat that we were last year with these stupid tariffs that are not going to do anything but harm American consumers, and especially people here in Metro Detroit, where half of everybody works in the auto industry, and those tariffs are going to hit every time a piece of metal goes across the freaking bridge
Back and forth.
comes back and forth. It all sucks. Stop the count.
yeah, no, stop the count. I don't have much more to say about tariffs. It sucks and there's no reason for them.
By the way, the bridge is supposed to open next week, y'all.
Well,
Allegedly.
watch this space. We don't know what's going to happen. now. I mean,
Allegedly.
For God's sakes.
Allegedly. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
But can I just say
Yeah.
one thing? Trump is due to be here next Monday. So
Yes.
in a few
Why?
days' time, he's coming in for a rally.
A rally and the bridge.
The bridge.
What
The
does
bridge
he
and
have
a
to
rally. I don't know.
for? He's not running for real. Well, maybe he is. I don't know.
Well, he's running. Obviously, he wants to support his candidates here in Michigan. And, I don't know.
No, he's not. He's here to just, suck
Piss us all
himself
off.
off.
Yeah.
That's what he's here for. And he's here to see how many sycophants he has in the state still. That's all.
Maybe somebody will call him a pedophile again,
But-
like last time he was here.
It's true. But I think what we have to remember about Trump, the thing he likes about governing is basically campaigning.
It's attention.
Yeah, he likes the
He
applause.
doesn't like
Yeah.
governing. He likes campaigning. He
Yep.
likes to that standing on the stage with the Spanish football team. He just likes to have the limelight. That's what he likes to do. He does not like to govern.
Should have been
He
a
likes to-
podcaster.
He should have been.
been a
I wish someone
podcaster.
had have given him a fucking microphone.
He would have had a better time with it.
Anywho, with that said, guys, that's going to be our show for this week. We hope that you feel informed or at bare minimum entertained, I suppose. And don't forget, I forgot to say this at the top of the show. Don't forget to follow us on all of our special social medias. That's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where you can see all of our beautiful faces. And Jeremy, where can they follow Head in Office?
Head in the office on all platforms, primarily podcasting platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
There you go. And also follow Distill Social, where you could get all of our wonderful news and see all the things that are going on in the world to stay informed, and sign up for our Substack, because we go in depth on all the things happening in Michigan politics. And with that said, everybody, hope to see you next week when we have even more show.
I do want to say a quick thank you and hello, g'day to Mackenzie, one of our followers and our podcast listeners who I met at Bell's, a local bar last week. So shout out to Mackenzie. Hope you're listening. She's a public school teacher and loves our work. Bye.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Point of Disorder. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who listened today. And if you like us, give us a like, a subscribe, or a review on any place you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Distill Social and at The Guerrilla Politic. This is the Point of Disorder podcast, signing off. Stay sharp, stay progressive, and above all, stay tuned.